Well, good morning, everybody. I'm here this morning with
Billy Hoffman.
Billy. Thanks for joining me today. So, today I think we should talk about the population of young sports bettors and kind of what is just going on in this world of sports betting now that it is much more popularized, legalized. We see it on all the ads, we see it on Sunday when NFL teams are playing. So, let's just get into that. Billy, tell me your thoughts on sports betting, or maybe give me some background on what sports betting is.
Okay, so sports betting, basically you're picking the team that's going to win, or you're picking the team that's going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
There are various things that you can bet on within the course of any given game. And I could tell you back when I was gambling, um, just to give you an example,
Mm-hmm.
there were five things you could bet on, and one was the line, which is the number of points that a team is going to win by or lose by, say. So
Okay.
you've got the line. You
Mm-hmm.
could bet the over, which is the total number of points that both teams score. And you've got
Mm-hmm.
the under, which again is based on the total number of points. One, of course,
Mm-hmm.
is they're going to score more than that many points. The other is they're going to score less than that many points
Mm-hmm.
combined. And then you could parlay those things. And what that means is that's multiple bets. So you could bet the line to the over or the
Mm-hmm.
line to the
To the under.
under.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but both those things have to happen for you to win. Yes, you win more money when that happens. So there were five choices for me,
Yeah.
and you had to get the bets in before the game started. Period.
Huh.
There was no making bets after the first quarter or
Yeah.
after the first half
Yeah.
or any of the other things such as
Mm-hmm.
live betting, which
Mm-hmm.
it's gotten crazy. So now a gambler can, before where you could only maybe bet the over on the game.
Yeah.
Well, now Saquon Barkley
Uh-huh.
has an over and an under. So
Wow.
how many yards is Saquon going to rush this
Mm.
game? Will he go over that or under that?
Mm.
And
Wow.
the same is true for quarterbacks. There, you could basically bet on almost everything that's happening in a
Yeah.
game. So that creates more frequency,
Mm-hmm.
which we know the more frequency you can create and availability,
Yeah.
the more likely people are going to get addicted to it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's far more accessible, right? Like you can choose any small thing, like you're saying, a specific player. How many yards are they going to rush? Um, in basketball, how many threes are they going to make? It's become so you know detailed now that you can make your parlay like probably 50 if you wanted
Right.
50 different options, and I think
For a
too.
chance to win $100,000 or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah. And I'm sure that too is what really gets people is as they're building a parlay, you see that number increasing and you're like, oh my God, I could get this. But of course, the chances already are slim. Are you gonna win or are you not
All of
gonna
those
win? But then
things.
you're adding all this extra and it's this like fantasy of like, oh my God, look at that number on this screen. This looks so, seductive. I want
Hmm.
to win that much money. Um,
Yeah,
it's
they often call parlays sucker bets
uh
for that reason
yeah.
because so many things have to happen,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
these gambling companies have
Mm-hmm.
even tried. They I saw something the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what they call it. Maybe it's forgiveness or so.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, let's say you had a 16 parlay
Mm-hmm.
and one of them doesn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll spot you that one.
Oh wow.
That kind of thing. Now
Yeah.
I don't know all the details because
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that deep into those things
Right,
anymore,
right.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I recently saw that one.
Wow. And the app access, there's so many apps now, I think specifically for sports betting, but then now online casinos. Like
Hmm.
the choices that are out there, there's so much to choose from. It's not just the DraftKings, the FanDuel, you've got MGM. I can't even think of all of the ones, but those are kind of the main three that come to my mind. But I know, you'll see little ads on social media or on TV for all these other offshoot apps that are like, you can sports bet on this and that. And of course, they're offering you that sweet deal at the beginning of bet $5 and we'll give you $50 in free bets, or refer a friend and you get $50 in free bets, or whatever it is they're trying to kind of grasp onto people to pull them in.
What they don't tell you, and now it is in the fine print on the screen. And I'll just give you an example. Let's take a guy who's never placed a sports bet in his life. You're talking about the younger guy. So this is his first time, and he watches a commercial that says 2 teams are playing tonight, and if either team scores, then you win $150 or whatever. And they think, well, my goodness, that's an easy one. But what you're really winning, you're winning 6 $25 bet vouchers that you now have to rebet before you can collect any money.
Yeah.
So they know what it takes to get a person going in this.
Right. Yeah. So they can't even cash out if they were to win.
That's right.
And I think too, when we're talking about this, really the younger demographic, the 18-year-olds who this feels like it's most heavily marketed towards, they $150 to them seems like $1 million.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. That's right.
Right. They're working at like the local ice cream shop making $8 an hour. Oh my God, I can just win $150 by placing a bet and winning, wow, I'm rich. So it's like preying on the young and the vulnerable, because they don't know, they don't read the fine print. Like I know when I was that age, I'm not reading the fine print.
I'm just looking at this offer, this number that I could possibly win. Just like you said about the parlays, I don't even think about, wow, it's really hard to pick 6 winners to win $10,000 or whatever it is, but I see $10,000,
Yeah. So I want to talk about specifically the 18, 26-year-old age range of sports bettors, and how this is kind of like taking a hold of this demographic and causing them to develop a gambling addiction so quickly because of how young they are and how marketable this is for them.
And how accessible.
So accessible, right? Because drinking age is 21. We just upped tobacco to 21, but you can be 18 still in high school and put in your driver's license on one of these apps and just start betting. And that is so scary for them. Like they're so vulnerable. So tell me what you have seen in recent years with 18, 24, 26 age range of sports bettors and this increase in that population.
Well, first of all, there are a lot of financial impacts. Okay.
Yes.
So, what starts off as a few friendly wagers with friends, which often, by the way, the door is open through fantasy sports, by the way, something that so many of them have been playing since they were kids.
Yeah.
So the door's open through fantasy sports. Now I'm going to start betting a little bit of my own money. Maybe I'm in college and my parents send me money that they think I'm using for books or food or whatever. Yeah. And I start gambling with some of that. And then as I get in more deeply, one of the big issues is you then see parents who are being asked to foot the bill on $5,000, $10,000, and in some cases even more than that. And so one of the other problems that's happening is the financial companies have gotten on board with this easy access as well. Now, I'm certainly not saying that they're doing it for the sake of the gamblers, but it is online. So now you have situations where you used to have to go to Speedy Cash down the street to get the payday loan. Now you got all these special places online that will do these insane, if I give you $500 next week, you've got to give me $1,000, or we just keep jacking up this interest, so those types of loans are out there. Or let's say if we're talking, say, 23, 24, 25, 26,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they started off with some good credit. So now maybe they're going to like a
Mm-hmm.
lending tree or a SoFi and getting a $5,000 loan or a $10,000
Mm-hmm.
loan. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, nobody gets help
Yeah.
until there's a crisis,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
this gambling disease, we'll call it,
Mm-hmm.
um, it tricks people into believing. They'll often call it the disease of hope because
Yes.
I don't drink and think my life's going to get better. I don't do
Right.
drugs and think my life's going to get better. I do gamble and think that this time could fix it all.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's always that
Mm-hmm.
pumped up feeling that this
Mm-hmm.
could fix it.
Yeah.
And the other piece is immaturity and
Yes.
responsibility. So
Yes.
that's also the stage of life
Mm-hmm.
when people are starting to figure out where they're headed,
Mm-hmm.
and that's scary. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
and the gambling's a great escape, and
Mm-hmm.
it might even catapult me into being the next whoever it is I look up to.
Yeah. Yeah. The next Elon Musk or the
Yeah,
next,
I'm just going to
billionaire.
magically
Mm-hmm.
create PayPal
Yeah. Seriously.
because I won a 15 leg parlay.
Right. Seriously. Yeah. And in the immaturity and the impulsivity of this age group, I think especially right now, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, or I can't remember what they're called, but Gen Z and the younger generations, right? They grew up with technology and electronics and social media. And, it started with the Game Boys, but then they got the Xbox. Oh, and now we have iPhones, and everything was at the tip of their fingers. It
Instant
wasn't,
gratification.
yes, it wasn't, I work for it anymore. It's impulsive. It's right here. I search it on Google and here's an ad to buy this newest thing that I want. Like, it's so quick and fast. Like, I even think about, those commercials when I was younger of like trying to sell you some toy, and it's like, call this toll-free number to buy the toy. That was like, we're starting into the how fast is it to just get something, and now it's at my door. We have Amazon 2-day delivery. Like, we're not waiting for anything anymore.
No.
So this age group right now is so impulsive, and that's what these companies, these gambling corporations are preying on, is the impulsivity, because the instant gratification. I deposit some cash and maybe I turn around and I triple that amount. I'm going to put it back in.
Right.
Like,
Now, but what I believe is,
yeah,
I'm going to borrow the cash.
mm-hmm.
I'm going to win, and then I'm going to pay off Speedy Cash.
Yes.
I'm going to. That's happening after the game's over tonight.
Yeah.
I'm going to do all that.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't happen that way.
Right. It's never the case. Even if it is a win, I think, well, hold on, I've got the money to pay them back, but let me put it back in and I can make even more.
I'll make even
and then
more.
I can
then
make
I'll
even
pay
more.
Him back.
And it's I'm never satisfied, because our culture, our society now too, is we are never satisfied with what we have. We always want more.
And the gambling addiction itself, even before all the instant gratification stuff was around, had that same kind of dynamic. It's never enough. So I still have to do more of whatever.
Right.
I can tell you in GA literature, one of the 20 questions is, did you have the urge to gamble after a big win? Could you not go back fast enough? That kind of thing. And it's true, so whenever I win, I want to win more. If I lose, I want to get the money back that I lost. And it just goes on and on and on. So of course, inside you've got a person that's creating a tornado of emotions and everything else. A lot of bad things start to happen for these folks.
Yes. Yeah. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the way that growing up playing sports maybe impacts people who find themselves primarily sports betting. I think especially too, 18, 26, if you've got these kids who, nowadays you're not just playing rec league sports, you're playing rec, you're playing travel, you're playing school, you're doing lessons. The way we see kids plugged into sports now is, I think, even different than before. I'm just playing in my neighborhood or at my rec league and like maybe on the school team. So sports becomes these kids' lives. All they do every weekend, they're at a tournament. They have lessons after school. They have practice after school. And then they graduate. And if they don't go to play in college, they're like, well, now what? I love sports. Sports was my whole life for 18 years, and now I don't have that anymore. And I see the way, like, kind of this correlation between these young kids, specifically a lot of men, right, who grew up playing sports, doing all the things, going to college and not playing sports anymore, and sports betting seeming really appealing because I'm still plugged in. I can still, watch the stats, follow my favorite players, and I still get almost that
Adrenaline,
feeling of,
I get
I'm a
some
part of
adrenaline,
something.
dopamine.
Yeah.
And on top of it all, I feel like I have the knowledge,
Yes.
and I feel like I have the edge,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's just not true because
Yeah.
everybody playing in the games, they're human.
Right.
And
Yeah.
sometimes humans do great and sometimes they don't.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or they're going to get hurt.
Right.
And then your bet's completely out of the door because now they're not in the game anymore and they're not getting any more yards or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to these young sports bettors who maybe are on the fence about whether or not it could be problematic? They're at the point where they're really struggling. What would you say to them?
Well, I mean, the first thing I would say, if they find themselves in it and they really like it and they're starting to feel, we often call it the juice. You start feeling that juiced up feeling when you gamble. You need to understand that whether it's happened already or not, if you were to get a big win, the likelihood of you being locked in and it being very hard to get out is high. So what people think is the gift of the big win. Actually, for somebody that's kind of on the brink of being a compulsive gambler, it's definitely gonna seal the deal. And now I can't stop. And you find out what happens when you get the big win. Is again, I want more. So what was $100 bet is now $500. And as those bets increase, it's very hard to come back from that unless the person is broke or almost broke. Then they'll back off. But when that happens, if they win, they're upset because they know what they would have bet,
could have gotten.
And so it's mentally it's exhausting. It's exhausting. So anyone watching this that thinks they might have a gambling problem, I urge you to go talk to someone and start getting the help. Opening up to parents, friends, family. Because this is going to get a lot worse. Almost guaranteed. Even though your brain is telling you can handle it, you'll figure it out. Man. And what I don't like about all that easy access is the financial devastation that can be caused for somebody. It's hard enough starting out. But like starting out with $50,000 worth of debt, when it was all you could do to make $50,000 in your lifetime or your lifetime at
even
this point. If you're 21, it might be I've never made $50,000. Combined all the years that I've worked. So it can really set a person back.
It can. It's so sinister because the way that we're seeing this now on our phones, on the computers. I'm not touching like the tangible cash. I'm typing on a screen and it just feels like numbers. It doesn't feel like real money. I can choose not to open my bank app and see what's happening in my account if I'm just plugging numbers on this app. And it creeps up until, oh my God, I'm in the toilet. Like I am screwed. And now I'm set back $50,000 and feels like a hole I'm never going to crawl out of.
And even that is a progression if you look at gambling history. But that thought process of taking the cash out of the equation has been there for a long time. When you start talking about things like, football cards or bookies allowing you to make the bet without putting the money up front.
Wow.
So now I'm playing on credit. Why do casinos have poker chips? Why? Well, it's a lot easier to throw $5,000 in the middle of the table
chips,
if it's one little chip
and not the actual
Yeah, than it
cash.
is
Yeah.
like a stack of hundreds. Really? Do you see people
Right.
doing that a lot?
Yeah.
Probably not. You
Yeah.
know, and it works that way with almost
Mhm.
anything you can think of. They found
Mhm.
ways, and it's not everything, but almost everything. They
Right.
found ways to take the cash out of the equation until
Yeah.
it's time to pay. You
Yes.
know, and then now maybe we want to see some cash, but
Right. Right.
you're right. Certainly online, all I'm seeing are digits on a
Yeah.
screen. That's
Yeah,
it.
it doesn't feel real
Mm-hmm.
even. I want to talk about when people are entering early recovery. And I think there's a difference worth highlighting here when it comes to being in recovery for gambling versus being in recovery for alcohol, drugs, like something else. Because I think, as we know, that debt follows you and is the reminder of your active addiction and the destruction that was caused, versus when I stop drinking or I stop using, I feel better in a couple weeks. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have that same lasting. Of course, there are health concerns. There are many things that I could damage in my body when I use drugs, when I drink. But most of the time, I really do start to feel better, and recovery starts to feel better. Urges, cravings, triggers are always going to be there. But like when I am in recovery for gambling, my debt is going to follow me for
Mm-hmm.
years, decades.
Which is why you see people like if you try to talk about deep things too
Mm-hmm.
quickly,
Yeah.
what ends up happening is it's not that they don't want to hear you.
Yeah.
They can hear you
Right.
because this debt is screaming. So, what I have learned over the years is we do some kind of pressure relief with the
Mm-hmm.
money.
Yeah.
We start talking about the money, making some
Mm-hmm.
protections so there's not easy access to
Mm.
money just at will.
Yes.
Um, and then if you start with basic things like, all right, we need to get honest about everything, not just gambling,
Yeah.
but everything.
Yeah.
So the front end of it it's kind of like a fact finding mission, and you
Mm-hmm.
know we have to get people and to trust us enough
Yeah.
to so that they'll say, yeah, I've got this SoFi thing, and
Mm.
yeah, I took this money from here,
Mm-hmm.
but I've also been Venmoing,
Mm-hmm.
back and forth with friends who have been
Mm.
making bets for me,
Mm.
and all of these things. Another big thing that comes up a lot now
Mm-hmm.
is defaulting on PayPal.
Hmm.
People people get
Hmm.
PayPal involved
Mm-hmm.
with some of these transactions, and then
Yeah.
they end up owing PayPal a bunch of
Wow.
money. So
That's like I send you money and then I ask you to send it back to
yeah,
me
yeah,
kind of thing.
there are all kinds of different
Okay.
variations of it.
But I never have it in my bank account, so I send it to you, defaults, and then when you give it back, now I have it. Is that kind of what we're talking about here?
That's a version of it. I
Okay.
mean,
Okay.
there's like
Wow.
multiple versions
Yeah.
of these tricks with PayPal or Cash App or
Wow.
Venmo. Now, I will say those companies are trying to get better
Okay.
at finding some of this stuff.
Yeah.
I do think it's horrible, and I hope that a lot of credit cards are waking up to this, but
Mm. Mm-hmm.
there is no reason
Mm-hmm.
that I should be able to use a
Mm-hmm.
credit card on some of these sites. I
Yeah.
mean, if the credit card company, unless they know something that I don't know
Hmm.
about what happens if people default on them, and it's
Right.
possible, maybe
Yeah.
there's some kind of, who knows, I don't know, a
Mm-hmm.
magic genie or something that
Yeah.
fixes it, but
That's the gambler's
yeah,
fallacy, right?
yeah, that's
The
right.
magic.
But when I can just use my credit card to gamble and gamble and gamble, or somebody else's credit card to gamble and gamble,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really not good.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
Yeah. It's not. It's creating a mountain of debt that I may never escape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to talk too about. I know you've heard about this. Was it Colorado Boulder? I think it was that college. It was a college in Colorado though, who made some deal with one of these gambling apps and promoted it at their college football game. You heard about this,
Yeah.
right?
So
Okay.
they got paid a flat fee up front. It might have
Mm-hmm.
been $1 million or something for the
Mm-hmm.
advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
But then the company also said, and hey,
Mm-hmm.
if you will put this code in your stadium
Mm-hmm.
every time somebody signs up,
Wow.
I think they were giving them $30
Wow.
per sign up through that code.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking about the college is the place where
Yeah.
the kids are supposed to be protected,
Right.
taught to go into life and
Financial
make
skills
something
and
of themselves.
Yeah.
And so colleges getting involved with gambling is not a good thing.
Yeah. They're preying on the vulnerability again of if I'm not working a part-time job and I'm just going to school and, maybe getting some money from mom and dad, fast cash sounds great. Like, so I can have fun and do extra things. And then of course we know kids at these games are also drinking. So then they're under the influence and betting. And that's
another example that makes it sound even more outlandish is, in a lot of places, marijuana is being legalized and there are dispensaries and all these things. Are we going to put that? Are we going to now have a billboard in the stadium that says, hey, let's smoke some pot?
Or even selling it in the stadium,
right? I mean, are we going to do that? Is that the next? I mean, where do we draw the line for this? And so the hard part with the gambling is it's so often glamorized. People do not see it as the kind of problem, that alcohol and drugs present. They often see that immediately. Now, families that have been affected by gambling, they know that there's a massive issue because they felt it.
Oh yeah.
They felt it not only in the way the person becomes distant, oftentimes mean if confronted about it. And then on top of that, money is missing. So our financial security, emotional security of the family is deteriorating because of this.
Yeah, the layers of broken trust, because it's broken emotional trust, but then broken financial trust, and money already causes so much tension in families. I wanted to bring this up too, because I worked with somebody recently who made this point. They were a child in the 2008 recession time, and money was talked about so much in households at that time because everybody was just struggling then. And, now he, as an adult, struggles with gambling. And he kind of made that connection of like the way money was talked about, and it was, we didn't have enough. We couldn't do these nice things that we wanted to be doing as a family, and seeing that be the pinnacle of his family at that point. And now as an adult, having a gambling disease, struggling with gambling. And what do you think about that connection?
Well, I believe it's real. Any type of scarcity like that, or fear of financial insecurity, those types of things. I could tell you in my case, growing up in the 70s with a mother raising 3 kids, no child support, heard about money a lot. I resented getting free lunch or reduced lunch, things like that. And so I developed this belief, and I had some friends that I could see were doing okay, and their parents, took care of them and different things. So I believed that if I could get money, I would solve a lot of my problems. And then you do learn as you get older. And then for me, not only get older, but also get into recovery. Yes, it is good to have money, and it's nice to have some flexibility, but it's not going to solve all your problems. And sometimes it actually creates a few more.
Yes, definitely. Billy, when you first entered into recovery, what got you to commit, to buy in to recovery at first?
So what my crisis was, my second wife had left me about a little over a year before. I never dealt with it or any of that. And I'd been gambling at that point, 12 years heavy, but I'd gambling for 15 years. And I was in another relationship. Things were starting to get bad, and I knew it was going to come out. She didn't know. For whatever reason, the last year that I gambled, I won the majority of that year. It wasn't till so I could keep it hidden. She didn't know. I'm just like this happy-go-lucky guy. All is well. Everything's great. And then I lose everything, and then it comes out. And so really what happened was a lot of these unresolved issues with the second wife. There were unresolved issues with the first wife. There were unresolved issues with the relationships I witnessed growing up with my mother and my father. And all of that had put so much fear in my body I felt like I was having a nervous breakdown.
Mm.
And so when I got into recovery, I was very fortunate that I had somebody that helped me that was very stern and firm and was not going to listen to all of my
Yeah.
great ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I needed that.
Yes. Agreed. You need that very strong voice of like, cut it out.
Yeah.
You don't have the answers to solve all of the world's
Be-
problems.
Because it's interesting what the gambling illness does to people.
Yeah.
I mean, I have it. I've been working in this field since 2007, and
Mhm.
I've been in recovery since 2001.
Wow.
And you can see all these mountains of problems, and they still want to fight.
Mm.
Oh, it's not, the gambling's not the thing. It's this other
It's
thing,
this
or
or
it's
that,
this
or
other
yeah.
thing, and it's really no big deal. I can
Mhm.
stop whenever I want to.
Mhm.
And you just go, but look at this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, this is madness.
Right. It's like those other things are also problems, but
Right.
we can't ignore the
That's-
mountain in front of you.
That's
Like we
right.
can't make this into a molehill.
That's
This is
right.
a huge
That's
problem.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Well-
doesn't make you bad. It just makes you, you have a bad addiction.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk with me today, Billy. And if you are out there and you think you may have a gambling addiction or a problem with gambling, contact Williamsville Wellness and we can help you out.
Oh, yeah.